Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Chestnut Checkers. I am Keith Riddle here as always with my co-host Jordan Tampien, and today Spokane is on fire.
Jeez, literally on fire.
Literally on fire. Actually, I don't know if it's on fire today. I think there are things burning.
It's
today.
still burning. Yeah, it still says zero containment from what I've seen. Again,
does it?
App, yeah, and it's just the wind died down.
Well, and there's so much. What do they call it? Like hotspots.
Yep.
And like
Yeah,
fires that are
it's supposed to be windy this weekend, so they're talking about it picking up again, and yeah, it's devastating to see. Like,
so if you live in the Spokane area, obviously you know, and if you don't, you
probably heard
watch
about it.
Any national news. Well, they're equating it to like the Palisades Fire.
Yeah.
I think the last numbers I heard was like 800 or close to 1,000 structures lost.
Yeah, they're estimating up to 1,500. It's kind of by the time by the time this is all done.
Yeah,
gone.
When there are early estimates, they say come in just because, you know, firemen and whatever report like, hey, we lost 12 here, 5 here, 8 here. And so it's just like a hodgepodge of connection until they get sorted out the real numbers. But crazy times, man. Probably the largest, I would say, natural disaster that the Eastern Washington's seen in many, many, many years.
And so close, yeah, and especially from just what it took out. Like there's all those fires that happen in northern Washington, northeast, or northwest Washington, northeast
sometimes
Washington.
It's just the smoke you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually not. It usually doesn't hit so close to home. We had the Medical Lake fire, and I remember thinking that was massive, how fast it moved. But they said it was only 260 homes. No, I didn't mean
not
only,
yes,
but like
correct.
Compared to what this is and what this is probably going to end up being, it's significantly bigger. And then let alone, it's not just the homes burned, it's the evacuation number was over 70,000 people.
Oh yeah. Tens of thousands
of thousands that have to all find new locations.
Cannot go home.
Yeah. And even when you do, like, think of what the smoke is.
Yeah.
Your house didn't burn, but you're near the smoke. And so it's coming in your systems. It's all and I just think you look at Palisades, you look at Lahaina, I mean, they're still not rebuilt.
No, and that's a whole we'll unpack some of that can of worms, but I mean, so basically Saturday at about noon, the first fire, I think was the Old Trails fire that started.
Yep.
And allegedly that was arson.
Yep.
And it happened so fast, man.
Yeah.
It was like, I was working on a flip project out north in like Colbert, and I had my daughter with me. And just getting her hands dirty, and we stopped to take lunch, and it was like probably at like late lunch, probably like 1 o'clock, and just driving up or southbound, but from north to southbound, you can see this huge plume of smoke.
Yeah,
but it was way out there.
Yeah,
it was like Airway Heights, Cheney area, and we're way north. So I mean, you could see it; it's massive, but it's just a big smoke. It looks like a mushroom cloud, you know, and like literally within. That was probably like 1 o'clock, 1:30. And by 3 o'clock, that thing had hit 5 Mile Prairie. So it basically went from, Airway Heights, ripped through towards like Riverside State Park.
And jumped the river pretty quickly too. That's the other thing.
And then climbed up the far, I guess you'd call it like west side.
Yep.
West side, southwest side, northwest side, Indian Trail area, 7 Mile area. 5 Mile area, and then ripped out through Rudder Park. But I mean, what was crazy is real quick, my perspective was had lunch, go back to working on this flip, and all of a sudden you get the alerts on your phone, like these real loud, like, and it's just saying like evac zones, this and that. But I saw it said Francis, and I was like, oh, West Francis is getting evac, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And within an hour, my wife's calling me. And she's like, hey, and she was pretty calm, but like some of the neighbors were freaking out. But she said what the most interesting thing was like the roads were stacking up.
Yeah. It was people trying to get off 5 Mile. Like if you look geographically at that zone, what makes Indian Trail so unique is there's only 2 exits and now a third if you went up 5 Mile. But that's assuming 5 Miles safe.
Well, and if you actually think
Rudder Parkway gets burned out most of the time, so that's not usually an exit. So it's one south exit to Francis.
Well, yeah, and
that's everybody coming to Francis. That's 9 Mile, 7 Mile coming to Francis.
Yep.
5 Mile coming down to Francis.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it backs it up, and so
you're trying to pump off the east side. With Cedar is not a great access road, right? Steep, narrow, 2 lanes.
Yeah.
And you're talking and a stoplight at the bottom.
Yeah. So
And then you have emergency vehicles trying to get up.
Yeah.
So
which
like,
you can't go up that road. Then you're talking about one road up, which is 5 Mile road.
The west side's like nobody on 5 Mile. I think when it starts hitting 5 Mile or even on Indian Trail, like nobody's dumping west.
No.
Right. Because that's the direction the
you're
fire's coming from.
Yeah.
So you're either trying to go north, south, or east if you can.
Yeah.
But those people in 7 Mile and those people down by like Joe Abbey Stadium and those people in Indian Trail, like going south wasn't a great option.
No.
So now you're looking at going only north
Oh.
or northeast.
Yeah. Or cut through neighborhoods. But then they also had Spike and Dig. Was that Dwight Merkel?
Oh my gosh, really?
So you had Spike and Dig
I
had to be evacuated at Merkel.
I knew Spike and Dig was around, but I didn't know that it really was happening at Dwight Merkel.
So you go a little bit further. Everybody doesn't know you have 5 Mile. It's the more northeast side of it. Drops down into Indian Trail. Goes south of that. There's a major complex that has multiple fields, and they have this big volleyball tournament there. So you're evacuating Spike and Dig. You're evacuating Indian Trail. You're evacuating Suncrest. You're evacuating 7 Mile. You're evacuating 5 Mile at that point.
Yeah.
And so you're dumping tens of thousands of people just sitting in your car. I mean, I heard some people took 4 hours.
Where were you at when it hit?
I was up at the lake. So mine was even worse. I was sitting there with a good buddy who has a place on 5 Mile. And we were sitting there. He gets a call from his wife and is like, hey, this fire broke out. We can see smoke from our house. And they're on the western rim looking at it. And he's like, oh, well, just go round up some stuff just in case. But like this happens. This isn't unusual for fires, right? This isn't like, hey, wow, this came out of the blue, right? Those fires happen. But then that was at same thing. I think it was at noon. And so we're sitting there on the dock talking. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's coming faster. So he takes off. By the time he gets back, it's burned the house down. 4 hours.
Yeah.
In 4 hours, it went from, hey, we should be cautious about this. And luckily she had gotten stuff out and gotten like the keepsake stuff. But it really puts you in a brain spot of like, what do you take when that's going, or what do you do?
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain this, but like, I was caught. Okay. I'll tell you a good way to explain it. I was caught in a wind and a rainstorm one time up at Ponderay on my boat with my daughter. It was a freaky incident. But what was interesting was like, I saw this storm coming from across the lake and I was gauging my time to do the things I needed to do based upon where I could see whitecaps.
Yeah.
And what I failed to realize in the end all be all was that like that storm was actually well in front of the whitecaps. It just wasn't whitecapping the water.
Correct.
And I think the same thing happened with that fire was, I have a lot of friends and family that live on the north side of Spokane, but including 5 Mile. And a lot of them, I think hindsight is they're watching the fire instead of packing or moving.
Correct.
Right. Or instead of really, busting, because you're not sure. At first it's disbelief. And it's almost like amazement. You're like, well, it's a big fire. Oh, it's kind of coming our way. Like, but then you underestimate how fast it travels. Yeah. And it was ripping.
It was ripping. And they had gusts, I think, at one point of, what did they say, 50 miles an hour?
I know that was reported of like, that's what they were worried about. But I don't know if it ever hit that. But,
did it? Okay. Yeah. Well, Airway Heights, technically windy area anyway.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, and
so
flat.
It's just flat. It blows. And so.
But I think you underestimate we tend to underestimate A, how fast it moves. And then B, the time you think you have based on where it is and based on when it hits. Yeah. It was much smaller than people thought, because like I talked to a few friends that were like, they were up on the ridge with neighbors and there's like, they're gathering around, like neighbors gathering around on the west side, like watching this fire, thinking like, oh, this is crazy. We should probably like maybe do something. But they said by the time that they made the decision of like, shit, this is getting really close, we need to do something, and turned around. Like I had a buddy, he's like, dude, I drove 3 blocks to my driveway. And he goes, I felt this heat, like this just warm wind, like just boom, hit me. And he was like, and that was obviously the fire, like, it's not the flames, it's not the fire burning, it's all of the heat. And all of that off gassing that's happened. And he's like, by the time I went in and started gathering things and took the first load out of my car, he's like, I couldn't see down the end of my block. Yeah. So he's like, in hindsight, I wish I'd have spent a lot less time watching the fire coming. But you're in disbelief. You don't really know. And then he goes, but then the time that I even thought I had was like, oh, I can see it now. Yeah. And my visual says it's gone from this marker to this marker in an hour. I probably have an hour to get my butt out of here. Yeah. He's like, dude, I had 15 minutes. Yeah. And he goes, and then you don't, the congestion with the cars. And
well,
then
you don't plan on that.
People.
You're thinking, hey, if I had to shoot down 5 Mile, it takes me 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, not when there's a car everywhere. Right. Yeah.
So from, the conversation from the west end of 5 Mile, where it was coming up over the ridge, to get out Cedar, took about 2.5 hours. Yeah. 2.5 hours to go. I mean, that's less than 5 miles. you know.
And that's the scary part. Like then now you're
Now
sitting
you're trapped
in
in
a
a vehicle. Yeah.
Nowhere to really go. You're gonna outrun it.
You probably could outrun it if you, again, left when you needed to leave.
Yeah.
The problem is you're going to sit in your car as long as you can and then go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be the smoke. Like if you're running away from it, that smoke's blowing towards you, you know? But what a crazy, freaky time.
It is. And again, it's not that we haven't dealt with fires, just that close and that quick, and how it reacted was super unique.
So this is something I want to unpack a bit. What do you think? So let's talk more like, okay, crazy fire. That situation's still happening. But now there's like, on my brain is spinning, and I'm sure yours is too, of like the recovery and like what happens next and how long is this going to take? And I think like one side is I'm like, there's a ton of psychological and like recovery as a community, recovery for people that are displaced, you're out of your houses. I mean, there's this really real kind of mental aspect and dealing with the scenario. Yeah. And then there's the physical aspect, like just rebuilding of the structure, or do you build it back or do you not? Contamination, asbestos. I mean, like what happened in a day, like that Saturday, and then continued basically Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you know, we'll call it a week. What happened in a week? I think we're looking at like a 5-year,
might be more,
potentially longer.
Yeah. It might be more.
When you call it recovery or build back, or whether you even call it like normalization.
Yeah. We got to think of all the things involved that you like. So when a house burns, right, you think, oh, just clear it and build back on it, right? Because your foundation is typically all right. Your concrete stuff's typically all right. But the issue is that everything in your house is made of petroleum. It's made of chemicals that you don't really want melted down, that then seep into the ground around you, plus the debris and the gas and the stuff that is coming off of it.
Might not even be your house. Could have been your neighbor's house or anybody on your block's house, right?
Yep. And so it seeps through there. The next one is that we're not a community designed to build 1,500 homes.
No, you don't have the labor force.
We don't have the labor force. So then you're stacking
that could be brought in.
Hopefully.
Potentially, right?
Yeah, hopefully, right? And it's at a cost. So then you're competing that. So there's the mechanics of actually building it back. Then, like you said, there's a psychological of like you're building back in the same spot that just burned down.
And do you want to build the same structure? Exactly. So now maybe does that foundational footprint change? I mean, like I think a lot of people, if they had the opportunity to rebuild, they're not going to rebuild exactly what they had, right? Or not necessarily want to.
No, and you're probably going to build a little more fire-wise. You're probably going to add some materials.
Well, that's another thing I think they're going to require. The question is, will they allow the same amount of density?
Yeah.
Because I think obviously that was one of the, specifically when you look at some of those new construction neighborhoods, like those houses are so close, right? 5-foot setbacks on the sides. And then you got vinyl fences in between, which, you know, is privacy and all that, but it's also a burnable thing. Yeah, it's combustible. So really you're talking, I mean, fire doesn't have to move or jump very far. So things I've already heard rumored talking about is like they're requiring concrete construction, or at least main floor concrete construction. Like cinder block,
fire sprinklers,
in residential houses.
Yeah.
And then you're also talking capped gas lines. Yep. So nobody's getting gas back that had gas.
Which they were trying to do anyway. So that's
right. They were trying to minimize, but your style of construction is going to change. The density potentially might change. Cost to build, I'm assuming, is going to be higher.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be really hard to build that same product more with sprinklers and with concrete, you know. And then what does that look like as far as like it's harder than just building new, right? Like that's the big thing that we've talked about in this show in the past with like infill development. Like there's a lot of incentive right now to do like urban infill development. Mm-hmm. The issue, or one of the largest issues, is it's just as expensive, if not more expensive, to do than just development.
Correct.
So it's like, if it's going to take more money and take longer and, you know, be less desirable, like who's going to do it?
Yeah.
Like large tract builders or developers are not going to want to go and do what, I mean, you could give them the land for free and they might be like, well, yeah, but the cleanup alone is going to be just as expensive and time consuming or more time consuming than just going and finding a raw piece of dirt. So that's the other question is like, will it really get built back? You know, if it does get built back, will it look anything like what it currently looks like? My assumption is no.
Yeah.
My assumption is a lot of it doesn't get built back, or if it does, it's going to take years and years and years. I'm like, you might be building on that stuff in like literally 10 or 15 years. Like developers might circle back like once all the dust is settled and a bunch of time has passed. And it's like, you might be redeveloping Indian Trail in 2035, you know?
Yeah. I mean, because now you're going to have to mitigate that question every time too. The fire, where you're located. So, I mean, that's one. Next one is, what do insurance providers do? What do car insurance providers do? What do home rental insurance providers do? Right? So those all got wiped out. So what they're going to do is move that boundary into fire zones. What if all of Spokane becomes a fire zone?
Yeah, they'll change their boundaries.
Exactly.
I talked to my insurance guy yesterday, actually. About
I think
this.
they already are doing it.
Yeah, and so then, you know,
So the
your
cost to
mortgage
own is
company requires you to have insurance, and the insurance companies won't insure you.
Yeah.
Or they will say your insurance rate is $18,000 a year,
Yeah.
and now your house is not affordable.
Yeah.
Or isn't affordable for you.
Yeah. So even if you had it paid off, it's like that. Avista's already talking about billing back for all the work they have to do now. Think of the infrastructure Avista has to do. They're going to spend tens, 100, maybe I overestimate 100 million, but they got to put all the power lines back in. They got to put all new transformers back in. They got to go run probably new wire, probably scorched wire to the point they have to redo it. So Avista's got to go dump money in. How do you make money back at Avista? You bump your rates. And so,
yeah, it's kind of like being in a really bad car accident. A lot of times you don't know the lingering effects of it or the things you'll be dealing with in 6 months or a year, or like 2 days later. You know, you're worried about like the visual damage. And I think that's the same. There's so much infrastructure. A buddy of mine is down in like 7 Mile area. He said that his neighbor got back in a few days ago, and this is really weird too. Like I got the National Guard barricading neighborhoods, right? Not letting people back into their houses. So like there's all this, I've had a lot of conversations, all these people have like these webs they're spinning or stories they're telling, or like how they're trying to get back into their neighborhoods just to check on things or to check on people. So, you know, like he said, one of his neighbors got in because her mom's on oxygen, and they had left she had all of her oxygen in the garage. And so she like basically pleaded her way through the barricade to be like, yeah, my mom's oxygen's on the other side of this, like blah, blah, blah. So, but he said, she said a bunch of the houses were, he said, she said, a bunch of the houses were flooded that were even standing, like basements flooded. Yeah. And part of it was because they're spraying fire hoses or retardant. But the other part that a lot of people don't think about, or I didn't think about until he said it, was the stormwater wasn't able to take the drainage.
Correct.
So they were dumping so much water that you're like, it's not necessarily like sewer lines, but the stormwater, so it's now backing up into people's houses. It was backing up on the streets. So now you have houses that are relatively unaffected for the fire, but their basement is flooded, or they have stormwater drainage inside of them. Well, that stormwater drainage is full of, you know, ash and retardants,
the chemicals you just dumped.
Right. Yeah. You know,
well, let alone it goes to a treatment plant. What did it do to that?
Well,
so you just think of the downstream effect of what dumping, like you have to dump chemicals,
the
right?
literal downstream effect.
Like now that treatment facility that's taking all that stormwater and supposed to be cleaning is now, it has that effect on it. So now you're having to clean and upgrade that part of the facility.
Well, and this is I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist or anything as far as like, I just don't know the answer, but this is the two pieces of the puzzle I put together this last week. Was just serendipitously, we just had Jonathan Bingle on. Yeah. And he was talking about those medical lake fires a few years ago, and they're finding well contamination from the retardant that was used. Yeah. Now, I do not know, like total blanket disclaimer, I do not know if they still use the same retardant today as they used to.
It was from previous use.
Okay.
So they'd been using it for like decades.
Gotcha.
And mostly it was Fairchild was dumping it. And
gotcha.
So it was,
So anyways, I don't know, but I do know that, like I said,
it's not good.
Are we clear on what the current retardant does, or what the long term is? And then again, asbestos, lead, mold, like 5 Mile, probably good. A lot of those houses built early 2000s.
Indian
90s,
Trail though?
Indian Trail, that's 70s,
that's
baby.
70s,
that's
man.
50s, 60s, 70s. So you know you're dealing with lead, asbestos. Now you throw the retardant in there. Right. Now again, all the off-gassing from laminate flooring, vinyl windows, you know, all the plastics, furniture, but all that is in the water now that was used to put the fire out.
Correct.
Or is being dumped. Now that's going into the stormwater system. Correct. The wastewater treatment plant is not too far away from there, right on the Spokane River.
Correct.
And then that feeds into Long Lake.
Correct.
And then that feeds into Roosevelt.
Correct.
And then that feeds into Columbia.
You could just play the scenario. Like, it's such a devastating thing once you start doing that. The reason, if it's just wood and forest burning, you're dealing with ash, smoke, and a natural product. This is when you start taking out buildings, and that's assuming nobody had anything crazy in their buildings, chemical storage, any of those kind of things.
I guarantee they did. I had a buddy of mine's shop burned down. Will remain nameless, but he's like, dude, I had propane tanks, for camper RV setup type stuff, like such traditional stuff you have in your garage. But he's like, he also changed his own oil.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I had a 50-gallon drum of used oil in my shop that he's like, I wait till it fills up and then I go recycle it. But he's like, it was probably 3/4 full.
Yeah.
40 gallons of used oil, in a shop that get burned down. Right. So he's like, I can't imagine what that fire was like when it happened.
Oh yeah.
Burned down his truck, shop, boat, all the whole 9 yards. Didn't get his house, luckily, but has pictures, and it's like his truck is flat on the ground and like the rims melted, like into a puddle.
Crazy.
Like the aluminum rims were like puddled up. So the truck's just sitting on its frame, and there's just like a puddle of aluminum where every wheel was. That's hot. That's hot.
That's super hot.
I don't know what the right.
Smelting basically.
Yeah. It's anyways, so there's just been a ton going on. And I think that road to recovery is going to be so long. And I think it's at this point in time, it's anybody's game. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm thinking it's going to be a lot longer road than people.
Yeah, I think you'll start getting some of it back, but you're going to be, it all depends on the other big one we don't talk about is a lot of those people, those homes are older. They've been in them a while. That's like one of the beauties of Indian Trail. People just are there for a while. You don't see a lot of transactional stuff besides the new construction. I mean, were you insured enough for your home? Or did you insure it when you bought it 15 years ago at that value, right?
Yeah.
And replacement values.
Let's be honest, man. Insurance is very nuanced and it's hard to understand. Like I'm sure you deal with a lot of insurance.
Yeah,
I deal with a lot of insurance. Do you understand all your insurance policies?
Oh man, have you ever read a whole policy?
Dude, are you kidding me? Trying to navigate that? There's the replacement value and then there's the actual heart. It's like, dude.
Like cap limits, aggregate, single occurrence, like.
We should obviously have an insurance guy on here and try to break it down. But what I'm saying is like, yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of people, I'm assuming, and insurance companies that had properties or structures underinsured or not insured for, this scenario. And then what about all the stuff inside?
Yeah.
Right. Like that was my buddy's conversation with me the other day about, his shop going down. It's different than a home, but how do even trying to remember everything that you had, tools, fishing gear, you're not going to, I can't write that down. No one can give me a notepad. If anybody gave me a notepad and was like, Keith, write down or itemize the stuff in your shop, it would be from memory. So how are you going to get an insurance claim for stuff you don't even remember about until you go to use it again? And you're like, oh, it's been, 5 months later. And I'm like, oh yeah, where did that 16-foot ladder go? Oh, it was in my shop that burned down, Where did that router jig thing? It's like,
and then what's the value?
What's the value of it? Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the uphill battle there.
You start having those conversations, but at the same time, loss is loss. And then the flip side of the whole coin is then those Palisades Fire in California, those insurance companies just bellied over or bellied up.
Yeah. Well, the state did too. So what the state did was increase property taxes to cover the shortfall. Yeah,
but a lot of those. I think I heard Spencer Pratt say on a recent podcast that out of like the 2,000 or something homes that burned down the Palisades Fire, like less than 100 have been rebuilt.
Yeah,
that's insane.
And those are insane because those could have been $30 million homes, and so they were capping your insurance piece. Let alone if you had a mortgage. I was like, what if you had a mortgage you had to pay, and you got capped on your insurance? And then they had theirs was super unique, and I haven't heard anything like this yet. But they also had like 3, don't quote me on the exact time, but recently prior to, they had canceled a bunch of insurance policies. And so some of the people didn't get a new policy in time even. And so it was this mix of somebody going through saying, hey, we're canceling these policies because of wildfire. Right. I mean, fire damage, fire potential. But yeah, I mean, what has been cool to see is like the Spokane rally around it. I feel like we haven't had a rally point in a while. It's been a lot of like homeless or the negative things, but watching like community members come together to provide solutions. That side has almost been a silver lining to some of it, whether it's housing, food, just place to be.
So let's talk about the human aspect of it a little bit, which I found intriguing, but yes, that has been awesome.
Yeah.
The outpour of just people kind of stepping up and saying, I've got an RV if someone needs to stay in it. I know people, but The other thing is, and this is just my thoughts on it that I find interesting, is like it's going on, right? Like, just, I'm going to frame this really quick. It's Saturday, people are evacing, or at least where I'm living, and a lot around it. People are evacing and displacing, and it's who's staying with who and who's going where and what are you grabbing. And then there's Sunday, fire's still ripping, you know, people are displaced. Monday, so like there's a 2 or 3 day period there. But what was also interesting to me was about Sunday night, dude, I had to throw my phone in my truck and just go back to doing what I was doing. I was working on a property again, but I couldn't handle it, dude.
Yeah.
Like the amount of what I would say kind of people making it about themselves, right?
The spin,
that like weren't
the
necessarily involved, or that like were kind of like ancillarily involved, or like the crying or the you know, about like the discomfort or displacement. And to me, it was like, it was a very revealing, like psychological or you know, kind of test of just like, how do you choose to respond in those scenarios as a directly affected person? And then how are you choosing to respond even as like a not affected or indirectly affected person? Because there's the whole, like, I'm offering help because I truly want to care about somebody and this is impossible. Or there's like the I'm offering help, but it's like a look at me.
Yeah.
Look offering help.
Look what I'm doing.
Look at my noble
look
actions.
How good I am.
Look how good I am in these times of need.
Yeah, that's true.
So that to me was a little bit like, huh. But also just you know, again, the human condition and the response is always something that I find intriguing, but I think is a thing that we talk about a little bit here on the podcast. But resilience and how you choose to respond to good and or bad situations is like a humongous difference maker.
Correct.
You know, that we've talked to, you know, our guests and different people we've interviewed, but it's just always, to me, it's intriguing. And I feel like this was a moment, a real life moment, not a beta test moment, not a like, how would you choose? Because I think a lot of us think that we're mentally tough.
Yeah, if this happens, I know we could do this.
Oh, I'm the kind of bootstrap person who just, you know, takes care of the people around me and, you know, keeps pushing on. And then it's like, you know, somebody's crying because their favorite smoothie stand burned down or something, and you're just like, what?
What happened?
You know, like, what's going on? And I think that's the thing that intrigues me the most. But it's in these times that remind me that looking historically and looking at the things that a lot of us maybe know about the different wars, different trials and tribulations historically that America has gone through, or that society or civilization, a lot of times we also forget like the things that were going on while those were happening.
Correct.
You know? So it's like, you know, when I was a kid, they'd be like, you know, great grandpa and, you know, the community raised that dairy barn in 1957. And they talk about like the community came together and raised this dairy barn. And you're like, that's crazy, you know, like horses and ropes and this and that. But then what they don't talk about, or no one really documented or knows, is like that the guy on the horse wagon raising the barn's like wife was pregnant with her 3rd kid and lost it.
Correct.
Or the other guy that, you know, showed up and was, you know, fighting the flu, or, you know, it's like all of the things that are happening while great things happen. And a lot of times we're like we've talked about on this show, like the great Spokane fire of whatever.
Yeah, 1883.
Is it?
The 80.
Turn of the century. Somewhere around there.
Let's go late 1800s.
But now that's just it's just a story. Correct. It's just like, oh yeah, there was a fire downtown and a whole bunch of stuff burned. Correct. But it's all been handled and rebuilt. And so there's the remnants of it are like some old building that's still standing and people are like, oh, that survived the fire. But like nobody talks about what that was like to go through.
To survive that.
To go through this still doesn't change the fact that you got to go to work. Yeah. You got to make money. You got to pay your bills. Yeah. Your kids still have sports practice. You still got to make dinner tonight. You know, you still got laundry to do. And I think that's, to me, one of the more aha things of like getting away from the little consistencies that you're so used to, your coffee routine in the morning, like having a washer and dryer, or just even like 5 pairs of clothes. You know,
exactly.
Those are
you have choices on your outfit.
Oh, like rebuilding my entire house or making an insurance claim is one thing, but like, how am I going to get through the next year or 6 months of just like, I don't know, making dinner?
Yeah.
You know, getting up, going to work.
Think of all those utensils you bought over the course of 10 years
What about all the hopes, goals, dreams, ambitions of things I was trying to achieve before this happened, right?
Oh,
like, and for me, that's where like I feel like it's dangerous, like because I stack my plate anyway, right? I know you do too. So it's like when your plate is already like super full, and then someone's like, "Oh, let me double that." You're like, "Oh shit, I don't know if I had the capacity for that."
Exactly.
But I didn't think about that, right?
It's funny, but I think it's also, I also believe when things like this happen, you realize you're capable of more than you ever thought. Like when I watch people that are like, I'm swamped, I'm busy, and all of a sudden this happens, and now they're doing what they were swamped and busy with, plus they're taking care of all those things, and you realize like we just limit ourselves. It's just, to me, it's just such a clear example of how we limit ourselves to our situation or what's around us, and it takes something above and beyond to push that limit, and you realize, wait a second, I'm capable of even more.
Mm-hmm.
I just was limited. I was either too busy, too tired, couldn't work out, whatever the statement was.
Oh yeah.
And I'm watching some of these people where I'm like,
you've told.
the whole story was like, we're a bit, and I'm like, you're now doing 2x what you were doing. Now you're prioritizing time. Now you're doing these pieces. And I think that's part's been cool to see the people step through. And then it's been hard because I'm not good in some of those situations of like, what do you say to somebody whose house burned down? Just be there for them. I'm like terrible at it.
I'm the worst. Well, and I don't feel like I'm the worst. I feel like I'm one-dimensional in the regard of I'm very
like my head's like, how am I going to rebuild? So all I have in my head already, my house is gone today. My daughter's gonna be sad. She lost some stuffed animals, and then we're gonna try to build how we rebuild tomorrow. I was like, but not everybody processes that way. Way. You don't process grief that way. You don't have some of that part, and it's just super funny. Not funny. I'm gonna quit using funny. Ironic, but I ended up closing the Peyton loan finally, which we'll do a fun podcast on how I actually got that closed.
Yeah, last week
on Friday. I was immediately woke up to, again, you think what you're thankful for was, what if that loan got pushed to Tuesday?
Oh, you'd have been screwed.
Like, would my lender have pulled out because they heard of a national? They're from New York, so like, would they have left?
I would imagine that size.
I'm
loan,
like,
they'd at least pump the brakes.
I would at least be like, let's see how this affects Spokane. But we closed Friday, and so I went to celebrate, but I was too tired Friday, so I was like, you know what? Let's go up to Lake for a day. I'll celebrate on Saturday, and then all this happened Saturday, and I was like, oh man. It's just crazy to your point of like life continues on. And it's funny, even the comments, work related type stuff that happened Monday, Tuesday versus that are happening Thursday. Monday, Tuesday is like, how do we help? You just do what you do. Thursday is like, have you delivered that yet?
Yeah,
you told me you're going to have that to me. And I'm like, we're out here helping people. And it's just, the world doesn't care. And Spencer Pratt did the best. I love him, hate him. I think he's entertaining and had some really good points, but he was the one running for mayor of Los Angeles. But on one of his, he goes, Spokane, make sure you use your political capital now because they will forget about you in the next news cycle.
Yeah.
And you forget about that. Like it's there, it's everything now, but like in a month, is it? Are you going to remember Indian? Are you going to remember really Indian Trail quick. Burned?
Mm-mm.
You might when it gets brought up, but like your places didn't get affected.
Yeah. And you've even seen some of that. I mean, I've even seen some of that, like you said, the business world, right? Which again, I get it. We all got to do what we got to do, and life's moving fast, but the same town, I mean, you're talking 5-6 miles away. People weren't affected at all.
Smoky.
So again, they're like, dude, where's that addendum at?
Yeah.
It's Thursday at 3. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I don't know. I've been running generators all night, slept 2 hours and
helping families move stuff and calling, thinking, hoping they're all right.
Right.
But yeah, I'll get that to you.
Like 8 blocks away. They're like, you still coming to mow my yard, right? Yeah. No, my truck burned to the ground.
Yeah. And you just start realizing you're right though. That is like the human condition. It just baffles me. And like, to your point, it's like that divide where you have that tunnel vision. Oh, it wasn't me. Okay, I had that with the Palisades. I've never been to the Palisades. I don't understand. It's when it burned. I'm sad for everyone who lost their home, but like not like change my routine sad.
Yeah.
Here, it's like it was a change in my routine because it was good friends, people affected directly by this. And then to your point, to then have a vendor in town being like, when's this happening? I'm like, you know what? Never mind. This isn't working for me.
Well, and how do you, I think, I allude back to, I said I'm the worst with some of this. It's only because again, like you, like my mind goes to control what I can control, live in the world that I can move and affect. And so it's not that you don't grieve. It's not that you're not sad. It's just more of like, what do I have to do to make this more comfortable or to get, recovered? So it's very hard for me to probably sit down with or talk to or relate to people who are in that more grieving mode. Because I'm like, dude, what's next? Like, okay, the house is gone. Like I got to figure this out, but now I got to need, like, where can I rent an excavator tomorrow so I can get
So
that
this
stuff
cleared.
moved, right?
Yeah.
Like I would very quickly go to that. Other people are like, dude, you're going to go like scoop up grandma's photos
Don't
tomorrow.
you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's what has to be done. So it's like, so again, people deal with it very differently, but alluding back to that human condition of, I think that the most important lesson out of this or whatever is that we always underestimate how much we can achieve in a day, you know, and overestimate what we can achieve in a day and underestimate what we can achieve in a year.
Yeah.
And I think that to me is like a reminder of like, this is going to be terrible and there's a lot that has to go with it, but it will get figured out, but it's not going to get figured out as fast as you probably want it to be.
No.
And it's looking at this scenario in a way that's productive. I think that's the big thing to me. If you need to grieve. I would absolutely, you know, there's all sorts of different things that, you know, processing tools and counseling or whatever that, again, like none of that is right or wrong or bad. I would just say not getting stuck in that mode to where it becomes a detriment, to where it becomes problematic, to where it becomes, you know, an issue that's actually, how would you say, compounding the negative effects of an already muddy situation. Correct. You know?
But it's also your mindset, and it's a lot of the mindset of people we talk to here. It's a lot of probably who you surround yourself with as well. But you've seen loss. I've lost a building to fire. Yeah. I've lost a building to dead. I've lost a building to those things. And so in my head, it's like, well, that's not the end. But if that was the dream home you'd work to build, like there's this attachment to something because it's such a big investment. It's such a key part of people's lives.
Well, and going back to what you were saying earlier, is like you have no idea what you're capable of until some of these things happen or you get pushed to those limits. And that's kind of, they talk about if you ever like watch videos or read books about like Bud's Camp, right? Like Navy SEALs, like there's been multitudes of them say like, when you think that you're done, you're about like halfway, you know? Yeah. And I've experienced that in my own little areas of like ruck races and this and that, where it's just like, you don't really know until you push yourself to those limits. The issue is that if you were just to sit down on a Tuesday and say like, hey, Jordan, how far do you think you could run right now? You know, you would just throw out a number based on, and it goes back to almost that like same perception of the fire or the boating experience I had is like, we tend to see this, we, you know, if I can do this in a day, then it makes sense I can do this in 6 months or 6 weeks.
Yeah, you should linearly think, extrapolate it out. Yeah.
And I think it's the same with this. And people are a lot stronger than they probably believe that they are. Yeah. And I think that's a positive. I just
don't think daily life puts us into those hard situations as often as it probably did 100 years ago. We're not facing, deadly things. You're not facing these hard, well, it's still hard. Life's hard. Not minimizing life, but at the same time, it's not the same as fires happening, natural disasters, just medicines, things we couldn't solve before. And so it's interesting to see it applied in a world where we're trying to eliminate as much pain, as much suffering as possible, and then still watch how people have it happen, go through it, move through it. And then on the other side, you realize what you can do next and how you can become more capable. I think about if I didn't go through this last 2 years, and let's say all this stuff happened, rates didn't go up. So I sell the buildings like I thought I was. I don't have to worry about retrading them. I don't have to do I don't think I would have learned any of these lessons. There was never a hard. And then what it would happen is that there is a point in life where it becomes hard. I know that in everyone's life, whether it's small, big, tons of zeros, little zeros, but it's like the more you can face that hard and keep going, it just makes you that much more resilient every time. And I think that's where you grow in that. It's every time I felt comfortable is when I kind of get complacent, you kind of settle in versus I think creating these challenging things that force you to push through them.
So I think that the hard, it gives you that confidence. It gives you that reaffirm. Like again, people don't ride horses now for their major transportation. You know, back in the day, it was like traveling was hard. Getting somewhere could take days. You might not have fresh water every day, or you might be drinking water out of a bucket that's 2 days old because the well is 3 miles away. Like, you know, like those sort of little trivialities. Whereas today's life, I don't want to say it's all about comfort, but we've done a really good job as human beings, to paint it in a positive light, of solving a lot of those problems that maybe used to cause little tiny trials and tribulations. But it's the whole, you know, you've heard the phraseology of like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Yep. Well, it's almost like, but there's almost like the flip side of the coin is almost like strength by 1,000 paper cuts. Right. Like in life at 25 years old in, you know, 1923, you were probably a lot stronger and more resilient, like mentally as a human being, just because it was hard. Life was hard. You were probably cold a lot. You were probably hot a lot.
Right.
You were probably thirsty a lot. You were probably tired a lot.
Yeah.
Things took time. You didn't always get what you wanted. Bad things happened. Like now we live in a world where it's like, hey, dude, straight up, man. I got a 13-year-old daughter, and I look at her life sometimes, and I'm like, man, air conditioning, movies and books on demand, refrigerators full of food, cupboards and pantries full of food. I mean, it's like you've done this as a parent, and we've done this as a society, because we're like, yeah, man, like I want good things for my kids. I don't want them to suffer. I want them to be comfortable. And then at the same time, but now I'm trying to instill the hard, right? Like now I'm like, hey, you're going to play volleyball. I don't want to play volleyball. You know what? You're going to play volleyball this year because but I want you to go somewhere where you have to stumble and challenge yourself and learn something new. And through that process, right? I think that's one of the cool things about athletics today is we use sports and we use athletics as a temperance for individuals. I think any kid who plays competitive athletics at a certain level or for a certain duration of time will learn a lot of lessons that kids that won't. And it's only because you can take any sport. It doesn't have to be physical. It could be hockey, but it also could just be like tennis, or it could be whatever, badminton. But showing up when you don't feel like it, having an owie on your foot or a blister from your sock, learning a little new backhand or a little new, it teaches them so much, right? And people learn so much from those things ancillarily that then, 20 years later, you're facing a difficult situation, but you're like, you know what? If I show up,
we have tools
when it's uncomfortable, if I work hard, if I've done hard things before, like you have all of these little kind of like micro paper cuts in a positive way that then allow you to be a better, more highly functioning adult, in those scenarios. And so I think, again, trying to find light in this scenario situation is, I do think that these are times of opportunity to figure out what you're made of, deal with the situations. And they're also really enlightening when you look around and see how people react
to it. Yeah.
Is it going bad situation, same situation for everybody, and people are reacting very differently. And again, not to be judgmental, I don't know that there's necessarily right or wrong, but I would say there's more productive and less productive ways to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not just for the situation, but for you long term.
Yeah. Now it positions you to go long. I don't know. I used to try to avoid failure at all costs, avoid the hard situation. So I'd try to outsmart a situation to figure out how to not face the hard one. And I think there's nothing technically wrong with that. It's just that you're assuming you can do that to every situation, or you avoid altogether because you don't want to face something that could cause that. And I just feel like I
always think about like a life of crime, people that I'm always like, if you just spent all that time and energy just working any sort of career or job, you probably would have had just as much money, right?
Exactly.
Robbing a bank is a lot of work, I don't know. But I also, the other thing that this brings to light is I feel like it makes you also appreciate the things that you have, but also it's a filter for you to decide what's important.
Yeah.
Because I think that we all do that as we grow older. I know I have, like, especially when you start hitting your 40s and this and that, and I know the midlife or what, but you start to realize like the things that you really aspired to or wanted in life are not that important, or like they're not even not that important. They're just, they don't hit as much as you think they were gonna. Like we've talked about that before, like getting a sports car or buying a lake play or you work so hard sometimes for this like mental image in your head about what success looks like or what you think. And I feel like it's in these moments, it's like, I'm a unique individual, but I don't care where I live. I don't care if
I
it's
thought
big,
I did.
tall, fat, small. I don't care if, it's like what I care about is like, when my little 5-year-old comes and squeezes my hand, or like when I got like a moment in time to go like catch a fish out of a stream. Like there's all these little, and it sounds so weird. And I think if you explain this to different phases in your life, old people are like, yeah, you dummy.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling you if you would just listen.
Right. And I think just being, talking about our own journeys, I think that's just one of those things. This is another one of those moments where I think, and I assume, and I hope that a lot of people are going to realize that your happiness wasn't your garage or your shop or your car or the stuff in it. It wasn't the, paint job you had on your house. It was all of the things that you kind of probably thought you derived happiness for, you're going to realize that a lot of them are just not even worth rebuilding.
Yeah.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You could snap your fingers and have it all back tomorrow exactly how it was. Would you do it? Maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe not, you know? And maybe it takes time and it takes something like this to realize you're stronger than you think you are. You're capable of more than you think you're capable of. That time heals a lot. And that a lot of the things you aspired to or collected or sat around weren't the things that brought you happiness anyway.
Yeah. You probably already had what you wanted. And you just don't know until some stuff's stripped away. Yeah. It's super unique. I think it's a unique perspective. Obviously, there's grieving. There's things that should come with it. But I think there's also that pause moment of like, okay, if we get to rebuild this, like I had to think about that a little bit, right? Because again, it continues on. I probably wasn't going to develop much more anyway. I was just going to keep those apartments, go sell some real estate, like have a good little retirement plan, hopefully teach Lo how to do it. And then it did happen. Sold those, had to rebuild. But it was in those moments where you're like, I got that chance to rebuild.
This is a sidebar question. Do you sometimes refer to when you have to sell real estate as losing it?
Oh yeah.
Me too.
Because the goal is to keep it, right?
Man, I lost that house on East Ridge. I really loved that thing. And my wife's like, didn't you sell it? I'm like, well, yeah, but that's me losing it.
Yeah.
She's like, you sold it and made money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, but
I made money on the sale. It was just they were just ones that I was like, no, I'm going to build these, and that's going to be
right. But you call it lost anyway. Sorry.
No, but it's true. And so then,
as a real estate, I call myself a real estate investor. Sometimes also I call myself a real estate collector. I want to become a collector. That's my goal. I just don't like selling them.
Yeah, because you look at what it means and what it does, and comes with pain, comes with all the things. But it also, I think, long term is still a really good play. But I started looking at it, I'm like, you don't really get a chance to reset your life very often. I think it'd be interesting to see a comparison, ask Joey, between you as a dad with oldest and youngest, right? The sense of like, you're probably more aware of time.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. Versus like a lot of times a young parent, you're like, just get me through this. You're in survival mode. But when you have this glimpse of like, I've done survival mode, I've done productive mode, I've seen it. And what I saw at the other side of that was I need to spend more time here. But by the time most people get that realization, the kids are gone.
Yeah.
The parents gone. The people are gone. I mean, it caused me to reflect and just send texts and be like, hey, long time no talk. Like, just love to connect again. It just reminded me that like I get so focused on solving these problems that I forget that that's just what I do, is try to solve a problem. But it's not who I am. It's not what I want to be. And that's what I realized was like a lot of times the thing I care the most about was relationships. And that's what even just being on the outside of this, looking in, helping people, it's like, oh, I'd give you my house. The house was never the thing. I'd give you my business to help you solve this thing. And I think that's what the side, I think not everybody gets that glimpse until it's too late.
Yeah. I mean, we've been level 3 evac since the start of it. And all that means is that they've evacuated the neighborhood. We did not lose our house or anything like that. I want to make that very clear. And I had a plethora of people reach out, and that was cool. It was cool to have, like, I had a landscape guy who'd done some work for me a few years ago, and like, we chatted it up and kind of became buddies during the process, like randomly reach out, right? Like I just random text, hey Keith, thinking about you and the fam, blah, blah. And it was just like, whoa. Yeah. And not that like, I appreciate that. But the whoa was more of like, am I the only dude that you know that lives in that part of town? Because that's really weird that you've been thinking of me, right? I was thinking like, like that. I was just surprised that they had thought of me. Like not, I was just like, it was like, wow, like that's cool. But the other thing was like, it probably took getting 3 or 4 or 5 of those messages from people where it was like, I hadn't even thought about any sort of like hardship. Like people are like, hey, are you doing okay? Like we heard you're not your house. And I was like, I'm
bunked up over here.
Fine, but I'm, I know and have heard, and so many people have lost their houses or lost their lives or haven't, like to me, I'm like, oh dude, I just don't get to sleep in my own bed for a few days. That's fine. It's like a, it's not a hardship. This is just like an inconvenience.
And the hard part is most people never hear that from somebody else till their obituary.
Right.
It's the weirdest thing about life is we just assume this part. And I'm like, man, I one day hope the pendulum swings back to where we're relational again. And you want to be a part of somebody's life. Like, I just think that's what I started realizing through all of it. Like you wouldn't have heard those, hey, thinking of you, thanks for everything you've done. And you're like, sometimes you just plant a seed. You have no idea if the tree ever grows.
Yeah.
You never know the impact you do or the pieces you have or the influence or the things you do. And until you're at the point where like, it doesn't really matter.
I used to write when I was a younger age, and I used to write a lot of thank you cards.
Oh yeah.
And it was part of a program that I lent myself to at some point in time, like a coaching program. But what it was one of those things, like first thing in the morning. So first thing in the morning, you kind of did this little thing, but you wrote 5 thank you cards every day. Right. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like simple at first, but if you think about it, like after like doing it for like a week or two, like it gets a little bit harder, mm-hmm. right? Like if you've written a thank you card every day or 5 thank you cards every day for like 3.5 months, pretty soon you're like, well, who can I tell thank you to for what, right? Yeah. But what I realized is that it was way less about saying thank you for something or doing it. It was just a card. Yeah. So the card would just be like, hey, Johnny, just want to let you know, dude, I've always appreciated our friendship. Yeah. And I don't think I've ever told you that. And I just wanted to take a moment and write this card and say, I appreciate you, but anyways, long story short is this is years and years and years ago that I used to do this. And I still, I'm a handwritten card kind of guy, but I don't I don't make that same practice, that diligence of doing 5 a day, which I should. But anyways, all this alludes to, I would remember I was at a friend's house and I was at a barbecue just randomly, and it had been years. And I saw that card sitting on like a little mantle shelf thing in their downstairs office.
Really?
And it was it was the craziest thing, dude. They saved it, right? You know what I mean? And I literally was like, I remember I didn't say anything to them at that time and everything, but I like walked over and grabbed the card and like picked it up. And I was like, I barely even remember writing it, but it was a card I had written from like 4 years prior that was just like, whatever. And I was like, that's crazy to me. And again, reiterated I should do the practice, but also like I said, you don't know the seeds you're planting. Yeah. And so I think that that's one of those, if this is the reason that reconnects you with old friends, with the old family, if this is the reason that makes you check on your neighbors or learn their names, like I was also embarrassed about neighbors. I didn't know their names or something happened.
Hey, you,
and you're like, dang, dude, what's that old lady 3 doors up's name? Like, should we check on her? It's one of those things I'm like, I don't think that would have been the same again in 1912. No. I don't think in 1912 you'd have lived 3 doors down from someone and not known their name. No. I've lived in my neighborhood for like 5 years, and like 3 doors down, there was a lady who was like, I don't know her name. Yeah. It's weird to me.
That is weird.
But it's also normal.
It's normal because you're not forced to engage. Like you have other distractions that I'd call.
Yeah. And is it awkward if I just go introduce myself or knock on their door or they didn't come out?
And it could be an amazing person that changed your life. Right. You have no idea.
And so that was another kind of weird aha.
Well, the thing, like I had to think about it in a day. Again, it gives you a lot of time to think. But I was thinking about when's the last time I made a call and just asked how somebody was doing.
Unmotivated. No.
But if I look at my call log, it's usually even to my parents or Whitney, even it's a, hey, what are we doing tonight?
What are we doing
my
tonight?
parents, hey, Dad, can you help me fix this?
Hey, Dad, watch the kid?
But when's the last person you called and just said, hey, just wanted to check in and see how things were going with you? And
I do it sometimes randomly, but it's usually, I would swear, and I don't know, like call it a higher power call, whatever. But you ever get that feeling where someone just comes in your brain? Yeah. And I'll be like, dude, I got to call so-and-so. Yeah. I just got to call him. And I don't know why I got to call him, but I got to call him because it's like, they just pop in my brain. I'm like, that's too weird. Yeah. It's too weird for me to have that person pop in my brain
and not do something.
Yeah. So, but as much as I should or could, no.
Yeah. But like some of the hardest parts of this when I was dealing with all the stuff, like I would just get these random texts from people.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking in the time I got it, I'm like, that's such a huge text today. Like maybe it wasn't a crazy day, but like I just remember thinking that and I'm like, God, why don't I do that? There's like a commercial, I think Verizon or T-Mobile, one of them did it. We're in the back of the cab and they're like, free cab ride if you call one person just to check on them. And you're like, God, we missed that. Like, why don't we do that? Like, why am I just now checking in with these people? Like, this is crazy.
This life gets busy, man. Yeah. Life gets busy and priorities shift. And then, but what I would say, and I'm guilty of it, and I know a lot of people are as well, is just we use that as an excuse not to do things we should. Like we kind of give ourselves a hall pass to be like, oh, it's like I got this, deal happening, I got this project I'm working on, and but in the hindsight, it's really no excuse not to call and check on your folks. It's really no excuse not to call and check on your friends or your family or take some time to, we just can tell ourselves the story or make the excuse of like, I'm too busy or I got too much going on, or we self-justify poor behavior. I think we do that in a lot of capacity. Like you said, going to the gym, doing little things. Like it's really easy to justify, like, I'm not going to the gym this week or this month because I've got, and then it's like, but then that turns into 5 years. Yeah. Or that turns into 10 years. And it's like, for me, that's just been one of those aha moments of like, I know how slippery the slope can get when I get on it. So I just try to caution myself away from it.
Yeah.
You know, like 2 years ago, I had a shoulder injury, like screwed up my shoulder. And so like I told my trainer, my buddy, Josh, I was like, hey man, dude, I got to lay off. I can't live. Like I'm just going to have to do something else and this and that. And so I made the conscious decision but it was weird. I was like, dude, is this then be the moment that I never go back to the gym? Like take 6 months off or 3 months off, you know, to let it quote unquote show. And so I had to be really diligent about like getting into a different exercise routine. And like, that's just an example, not the exercise is the end all be all, but I just know how slippery the slope is of like getting out of a rhythm and then having to get back or not being able to get back. You know? Yeah.
Like I even think of like comes to my mind, my oldest sister. I think I visited her more, take away the main family holidays, take those out. I probably visited her more when she didn't live in Spokane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now she lives way north now and I'm downtown, but like there's just things, but I'm like, why don't I call her? Like I mean, even that close. I'm not even talking about the random guy you met at Rose Hours and you're trying to see how they're doing. I'm talking about like even just that close piece. I don't even do a good job of. This is more of an aha moment. Though the crowd gets in or the listeners get to enjoy this with me, but I'm like, I just need to get better at that.
Yeah.
Man, I am terrible at it.
And proximity can breed, you know, what do you call it? Like, you don't take as much care or as much appreciation of the moments you do have as well.
Because you could go do it.
Yeah.
Versus like when she was in Texas, I had to like fly down there and do it.
It's like your spouse, you know, like there's times where me and my wife, it's like you see each other, you live in the same house here. And it's like, when is the last time we had this, like a real conversation or had a conversation that wasn't like, who's picking up who, what time is this? Where's that? You know? And again, I think it just happens slowly, right? Yeah. It's that like suddenly all at once thing, like that fire coming at you and all of a sudden it's in your face. You know, I think with like, you know, proximity sometimes can do that. It's like, you know, you can share an office with someone and see them every day and never have more than a surface level conversation in like 6 months. And then you're all of a sudden you're like, how you doing, man? Like, what's going on? Right? How's your day? What is happening? I think that deeper check-in with people it's a concerted effort that does take time.
Well, it shows you care. It shows it, but it does take, like you said, it takes work. But it was funny. I thought like, cause I always tell myself, and I'm just thinking my own habits with this, but like, I was like, no, once I get the Peyton one done, it's like all this will be done. I can then go back and be that person. I haven't changed anything. It just got done. And now I'm like, how do I build it better? I'm like, and it's just that piece. I think it's no matter what I do an example. I don't remember which book I put it in, but there was have you heard the one where there's the professor and then he has a glass jar in front of everybody.
Puts all the marbles in it. Yeah.
Starts with
a great one.
Yeah. It starts with the golf. And look, these are the ones you need to have. And I feel like I always just did mine in reverse. I just put so much sand in it.
Yeah.
That was hard to fit the golf balls and the marbles and the other pieces. And I think it's just life pushes you into those, or life doesn't do that, actually. I think we mentally process. I think through it, like when I think of a pressure situation, like I owe Keith $5,000. But every time I see Keith, I make up this story about what Keith thinks about me owing him $5,000. And so then there's just pressure you put on yourself that if I would just stop and talk. You also sometimes now don't want to see Keith.
Correct. Or you avoid seeing Keith. Yeah. Or you do, you know.
Versus all he wants to know is, hey, what's happening here? Where do we going with this? And I'm better at that now of just being like, hey, this is where it's at. But like before, I build these narratives. And so what that built was this pressure and kind of this whole thing around it that it was just me building it. And all of a sudden I blamed it on life. I blamed it on something else. And I was like, no, that's me being too immature to handle an adult situation.
Yeah. And I don't know that they get easier or more comfortable.
Oh, they definitely don't. It's not more comfortable, but.
Yeah. And I think, again, going back to the workout thing, because people can understand it, is it still friggin' hurts at 40. Yeah. You know, like it's not more. Right. It's just one of those things where it's like, but you know the upside of it and those difficult conversations and dealing with those hard situations head on. I think sometimes for me, like the hard part is like when I have to have a difficult conversation with somebody and I finally get up the gumption to be like, you know what, I'm going to go talk to Jordan today about that $5,000 I owe him. I'm just going to do it. Is that then you sometimes will have a poor reaction. Matter of fact, you'll have the same poor reaction that I was so scared of you having to begin with that made me not want to have the conversation. Yeah. But then I find myself triggered of like, dude, I'm here being honest with you. I'm trying to tell you, like, I don't have it and this is my plan to get it. And you're like, but your reaction is like now like I'm thinking like you should be appreciative that I'm here having this conversation with you, explaining to you, right? But it's like, no, it doesn't get easier. No. It doesn't even mean they're going to respond the way you want them to respond. It doesn't mean that they're going to, even appreciate the fact that you're willing to have tough conversation, but it is still something that you have to do. And if you do it over and over and over again, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't necessarily going to the gym and have it not hurt, but it does make you realize that you can do hard things and that they're important. And it will ultimately, I believe, pay off in spades. Yeah. Because people will at least be able to, you'll develop trust around that pattern of communication as opposed to
versus ignore it.
Yeah. The story is like, well, hey, good times or bad times, like riddles shoot you straight. Like he'll come find you and he'll give you the real story. Yeah. You might not like it. You might like it. And you might even want to yell at him. And maybe he'll sit there and want to punch you in the face while you're yelling at him. But like ultimately, right. As opposed to like, well, good times or bad times. Like if bad times happen, like you're not going to hear from Riddle, dude. Like you're going to be calling him and texting him. He's not responding. And what I've learned over time is like, that's not the person I want to be, but also that's that is the 10 years later, do they do an investment with you again? 5 years later, do they want to come to Christmas? Is it one of those things where like, or you can permanently wreck a relationship?
I think you can,
right?
Yeah, I think, I definitely did because of it. Because I just tried to be the nice guy instead of the guy who just tells you where it's at and what you're doing. And it wasn't like I worked any less hard. It wasn't like I didn't press as hard as I could, right? But it was just how you communicate it is everything. And I think it took me a while to learn that lesson. Especially the bigger projects, the more stuff we did, where a bank doesn't really care about your story. They just want you to tell you what it is, what's happening. And fortunately, because of that, I've been able to get through all this stuff, but it was just more of that. I don't know. There's just so many life lessons buried in it that avoiding it, I've never seen avoiding it. Here you go. I've never seen avoiding it help me get ahead of it.
All it does is kick the can down the road.
And the can gets bigger. Every time it's kicked, it gets worse every time.
Or even if it stays the same, it's still there.
Yeah.
Right. It's still there.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, here's a small example of this was, I was out with a couple buddies a couple days ago and, we were just, shooting shop and this and that. And my buddy had this big, like green goop in his teeth, like in his front teeth, like I don't know, piece of lettuce or something. And I didn't really say anything at first, but all of a sudden I started noticing it. And then I was like, guy, he's got that. It's like, that's not moving out of there, right? Like this is a weird example, but I started noticing this. And another buddy of mine who'd been a part of the conversation and kind of drifted off and was talking to another table, kind of drifts back. And he looks and he goes, oh, hey, dude, you got something in your teeth. And my buddy's like, oh, really? Where? He's like, yeah, right here. And he like gets it out. And then my buddy's like, and he looks at me and goes, oh, dude, thanks for telling me that, dude. Don't leave me hanging. And I had been leaving him hanging for like 20 minutes. And I felt so bad. I was like, that was just a small example. That tells him. Yeah. I was like scared to tell him. I just didn't. But I was like, I didn't want to deal with the awkward of to saying, hey, man, you got something in your teeth. And yet, my other buddy did it right in front of me. And he was like, oh, thank you so much, man. I appreciate not leaving me hanging. I was like, geez, Riddle, you jerk. You should have just told him. And instead, I stared at the goop in his teeth for 20 minutes.
That's a long time to stare at. Somebody would have been like, what's that face you're making? I'm like, nothing. We're good. That's good. Yeah. No, I think it's these times to reflect and help. And we're still trying to roll out a few more things to help with the fires that keep continuing. But to your point, I think it's an interesting time for Spokane for sure.
Well, and all of this, whether somebody's listening to this and they're in Spokane or not, I think the takeaway for me is crazy, wild stuff is going to happen in life. Yeah. Whether it's a fire, a flood, a hurricane, a tornado, and it's not even have to be a natural disaster. It just could be your spouse telling you they want a divorce tomorrow. Like this stuff is going to happen that blindsides you that you're not prepared for. And though what I would say is, my takeaway from our conversation today, but even my own thoughts is, you're stronger than you think you are. Mm-hmm. You can have a higher capacity than you think you have. You can handle more. It's not going to be fast, but it's going to be, potentially better. Like, just so try to stay on the bright side, know that you're stronger than, like those are the messaging that I'm hearing. And I think in addition to that, what I would say is, use these moments to become a better person, even if the scenario itself is shitty.
Yeah.
And that's easy to say. It's really hard,
really
to do.
Yeah.
But use these moments in your own moment, right? If you're listening to this and you're not even a part of it, like, but you have your own moments but use it as a moment to get better, to be better, to create, to give yourself, to start practices that maybe you didn't, to check on your loved ones, to build better relationships. Like, just use it as an opportunity to do the things you should be doing, or to hone in the skills that maybe you haven't had to hone in the past. And I think that is, if there is a silver lining, if there is a dot of blue sky in this, for me, that's where it lives.
Yeah.
It lives in the fact that this is an opportunity for me to call and check on people I probably should have been
doing the whole time,
or go have some hard conversations that I've been avoiding, or, and I also, like, just throwing this out there, flip side of the coin, I had a buddy of mine, he's been affected by this, but he's like, he literally already told me he's using this as an ability to, like, change his career path.
Yeah.
He lost all his tools and his stuff. And he was like, dude, I'm not even getting any more.
Yep.
I'm like, what? He's like, I'm not doing it. He's like, I've been wanting to go
waiting for a sign,
do something else with my life for years. And he's like, why would I rebuild the prison that I've been, like, low, and it was for me, it was actually kind of a weird conversation, because I didn't know he was that unhappy in his current profession. Yeah. I was like, really, dude? You hate it that
didn't
much?
Catch that? Yeah.
And he's like, oh, bro, I hated it. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Huh. But it's like, well, here's your chance, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Just looking at those is, what opportunities, or what can you get from it? I like that takeaway. That's a good takeaway.
Well, till next time.
No.
Chestnut checkers. All right, you guys. Thanks for listening to today's episode. While you're out there, would you please do us a favor and give us a like, subscribe, or a follow, whether you listen on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube. We'd really appreciate it. Also, if you don't mind, while you're there, give us a 5-star review. Maybe write a review. If you have a favorite episode, feel free to give it a like. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.